Welcome to my YouTube channel. Left my stupid husband away from home, Part 1. Chapter 1. The Morning of Goodbye. The morning light filtered softly through the white curtains, painting the living room in pale gold. Emma Carter sat at the edge of the couch, a cup of cold coffee untouched in her hands. The clock ticked louder than usual, or maybe it was just her heart trying to convince her that time still mattered. The house that once echoed with laughter and midnight talks now stood silent, almost resentful. She looked at the framed photographs on the wall, her wedding day, her honeymoon in Italy, the smiles that now looked like lies frozen in glass. "Stupid man," she whispered under her breath, her voice trembling between anger and heartbreak. "You had everything." Daniel Carter had once been the man every girl dreamed of, charming, witty, and seemingly kind. He had promised her forever, and for the first 2 years, he made her believe in it. Until the late-night arguments began. Until the secrets became routine. Until Emma realized she was living with a stranger wearing her husband's face. That morning, she had already packed her bags, just 2 suitcases, her essentials, and a heart full of shattered promises. She didn't leave a note. She didn't want to explain. She only left the house key on the counter, next to his favorite whiskey glass, the same glass that had seen him through every drunken fight. As she closed the door behind her, she felt the chill of October air hit her face. It was both terrifying and liberating. Chapter 2. The Weight of Freedom. Emma drove for hours, leaving behind the city skyline that once held her dreams. Every mile felt like peeling away a layer of pain. By the time she reached the small coastal town of Westbridge, the sun was dipping low, setting the sea ablaze with orange light. She checked into a small inn by the beach, the Sea Glass Retreat. The old lady at the reception smiled warmly. "Long trip, dear." Emma nodded faintly. "You could say that." "Running away or running towards something?" the lady asked, half joking. Emma forced a smile. "I'm not sure yet." Her room was simple, a white bed, an old wooden desk, and a window that opened to the ocean. The sound of waves crashing against the shore filled the air. For the first time in months, she didn't feel trapped. That night, she couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she heard Daniel's voice, angry, dismissive, cruel. "You're overreacting, Emma. Can't you just stop nagging for once? Maybe if you weren't so boring, I'd actually listen." She turned over and pressed her face into the pillow to silence the echoes. But pain has a way of surviving even the quietest rooms. Chapter 3. A Stranger with Kind Eyes. The next morning, Emma decided to walk along the shore. The air smelled of salt and freedom. She sat on a rock, letting the waves splash over her bare feet. That's when she saw him, a man with sandy hair and kind blue eyes, sketching something on a pad. He looked up when she passed, offering a small smile. "Beautiful morning," he said. Emma nodded politely. "It is." He gestured toward the sea. "The ocean doesn't judge. That's why I paint it." His name was Liam Rhodes, a local artist who sold paintings at a nearby gallery. There was something gentle in the way he spoke, something Daniel never had. They talked for a while, about the sea, about art, about freedom. For a brief moment, Emma forgot why she was there. Before leaving, Liam said softly, "You've got sadness in your eyes, but there's strength too. Sometimes people lose one to find the other." His words lingered long after he walked away. Chapter 4. The Memories That Hurt. That night, Emma found herself replaying her marriage like a movie she no longer wanted to see. She remembered the night Daniel had humiliated her at his office party, snapping at her in front of his colleagues because she wore a dress he didn't approve of. "Do you ever think before doing anything?" he had hissed through gritted teeth. "You embarrass me." And she had smiled through tears, pretending everything was fine, because she still loved him. She remembered their anniversary, the one he forgot, and how she spent it alone on the balcony, watching the fireworks over the city while he was busy at work. And the night she found a message on his phone, from another woman. It wasn't explicit, but it didn't need to be. The tone, the familiarity, the comfort, it said enough. When she had confronted him, Daniel had laughed. "You're paranoid, Emma. Maybe you should talk to someone about your insecurity." That was the night something inside her broke quietly. Now, in the quiet of Westbridge, she realized she wasn't broken, she was healing. Chapter 5. When the Past Finds You. 3 days later, Daniel called. Emma stared at her phone, watching his name flash on the screen. Her hands trembled. She let it ring out. Then came the messages. Where are you? We need to talk. You can't just leave like this. I'm sorry, okay. Sorry. The word had lost its meaning. But when he called again, she finally picked up. Emma. His voice cracked through the line. Please come home. I messed up, I know. I can't sleep without you. Her eyes welled up, but her voice was steady. You slept through me for years, Daniel. Don't pretend you suddenly care. You're being dramatic. She cut him off. No. I'm being done. There was silence. Then a faint sound of him breathing hard, angry and desperate. You'll regret this. Maybe, she said quietly, but not as much as I regret staying. She ended the call and turned off the phone. The sea outside roared, as if applauding her courage. Chapter 6. The healing begins. Days turned into weeks. Emma started helping at the local art shop, organizing exhibitions. Liam became a quiet companion, never intrusive, never demanding. They'd often walk by the shore after sunset, talking about everything and nothing. One evening, as they watched the waves, Liam said, You don't have to prove anything to anyone, Emma. You already survived the hardest part, leaving. Tears slipped down her cheeks before she could stop them. I feel guilty, she whispered, for giving up on him. He shook his head. You didn't give up. You chose yourself. It was the first time she believed that maybe she wasn't selfish, she was brave. When the past refuses to die. Chapter 7. Footsteps in the rain. It was a cold evening in Westbridge when the rain began to fall, soft, steady, endless. Emma stood at the cafe window, watching the raindrops blur the streetlights. The smell of freshly brewed coffee mixed with the scent of sea salt. She had come to love this little cafe by the pier. It had become her escape, a place where she could write in her journal and breathe without fear of judgment. But that night, as she sipped her coffee, something felt different. She sensed eyes on her. When she turned, her heart froze. Daniel. He stood across the street, drenched from the rain, his dark coat clinging to him. His hair was messy, his eyes bloodshot. For a moment, she thought she was imagining it. But then he took a step forward. Real, too real. Emma's pulse quickened. Her instinct told her to run, but her feet wouldn't move. He entered the cafe, the bell above the door chiming softly. The room fell silent for her, even though the chatter continued for everyone else. Emma, he said quietly, his voice low and hoarse. Please, don't leave. She clenched her jaw. You shouldn't be here. I had to come. His voice trembled. I couldn't just let you disappear. You already did, she whispered. Years ago. He looked at her, eyes full of something that resembled regret, or maybe just pride disguised as pain. Can we talk? Just once. Emma wanted to say no. She wanted to walk away. But part of her, the part that once loved him fiercely, nodded. Fine, she said softly. 10 minutes. Chapter 8. The table between us. They sat at a corner table. The rain outside grew heavier, drumming against the glass. Daniel stared at her like a man trying to remember a dream he'd lost. You look different. Peaceful, she asked bitterly. Older, he said without thinking. Then, realizing his mistake, he added, I mean, just tired. I was married to you, she said. That'll do it. He sighed, rubbing his temples. Emma, I know I hurt you. I know I took you for granted. But you can't just erase everything we had. I'm not erasing it, she said quietly. I'm accepting that it's over. He leaned forward. I miss you. She met his eyes. Do you? Or do you just miss controlling me? The words hit him like a slap. He opened his mouth, then shut it again. I've changed, he said finally. I've stopped drinking. I've been going to therapy. That's good, she said, meaning it. I've changed, he said finally. I've stopped drinking. I've been going to therapy. That's good, she said, meaning it. But you need to change for yourself, not to get me back. He looked lost, like a boy who had wandered too far from home. I didn't realize how empty the house feels without you, he said. I keep waiting for your voice, your footsteps, your smile. Daniel, she interrupted softly. You had your chance. I begged you to see me, to love me the way I loved you. You ignored me until I disappeared. Her voice broke. Now that I'm gone, you finally care. But I'm done being someone's wake-up call. He looked down, his hands trembling. I'm sorry. She stood up slowly. I know. And with that, she walked out, leaving him staring at the half-empty cup of coffee, her final goodbye. Chapter 9. The Art of Healing. The next morning, the sun returned as if nothing had happened. The sea sparkled again, and life in Westbridge carried on. Emma tried to focus on her work at the art gallery. Liam was setting up new paintings when he noticed her distant expression. You okay? He asked gently. Daniel came, she admitted. Liam paused, eyes narrowing slightly. And? I told him it's over. He smiled softly. Good. Emma looked down. Then why do I still feel so heavy inside? Because closure isn't clean, he said. It's messy. It hurts before it heals. His words comforted her more than he knew. That evening, she helped him hang a painting of a woman standing on a cliff, her hair blowing in the wind as the sea roared beneath her. What do you call it? She asked. He smiled faintly. Freedom. Emma stared at it for a long time, tears welling up. It's beautiful. So are you, he said softly, and then looked away, afraid he'd said too much. Chapter 10. Letters Never Sent. That night, Emma opened her journal and began writing a letter she would never send. Dear Daniel, there was a time when I believed love could fix anything. I thought if I loved you enough, you'd change. I thought my patience would soften your anger, my loyalty would calm your storms. But love isn't meant to be one-sided. I was drowning while you were busy finding excuses. You taught me that silence can be louder than shouting, and neglect can be crueler than betrayal. I don't hate you. I just pity the man who had everything and never realized it. I finally found peace, not because I stopped loving you, but because I started loving myself. Goodbye, Daniel. Emma. When she finished, she tore the page out, folded it, and threw it into the fire. The flames consumed it, leaving behind only ash and freedom. Chapter 11. The Visit. 2 weeks later, Emma received a letter, this time from Daniel. Emma, you were right. I didn't see you until you were gone. I thought being a man meant being in control, but now I know it means taking responsibility. I've sold the house. I'm leaving for the countryside to start over. I won't bother you, eh? I won't bother you again. I just wanted you to know, I'll always be sorry. Daniel. She stared at the letter for a long time. Then she folded it neatly and placed it in her drawer, not out of love, but out of closure. That evening, she went to the beach. The tide was low, the air calm. Liam was there too, painting the sunset. He turned when he saw her. You look lighter, he said. I am, she whispered. I finally closed a door that was meant to stay shut. They stood together in silence, watching the horizon bleed into gold. Chapter 12. The New Beginning. Months passed. The gallery flourished. Emma's smile returned. She had learned to laugh again, not because someone gave her a reason, but because she gave herself permission. One afternoon, Liam invited her to his new exhibition. The main piece was titled The Woman Who Walked Away. It showed a woman walking along a road lined with wildflowers, a suitcase in her hand and the sun rising ahead. When Emma saw it, tears filled her eyes. Is this me? Liam nodded softly. It's every woman who chose herself over pain. She turned to him, smiling through her tears. Thank you. For what? For reminding me that leaving wasn't losing. He smiled back. It never was. Epilogue. The ocean remembers. A year later, Emma stood on the same shore where she had first met Liam. The waves whispered her name like an old friend. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. The wind carried away the last fragments of her past. For the first time in years, she felt complete, not because she had someone beside her, but because she had herself. And somewhere far away, Daniel sat in a small cabin, staring at an old photograph of Emma. He whispered softly, I hope you're happy. She was. Because sometimes, walking away isn't the end of love. It's the beginning of self-love. When love learns to breathe again. Chapter 13. Whispers of Spring. Winter slipped quietly out of Westbridge, leaving soft pink blossoms along the cliffs. Emma woke to sunlight spilling across her sheets, the smell of salt drifting through the half-open window. She had begun teaching art classes for children at the gallery. The laughter of little voices filled the place that once echoed only with loneliness. Every morning, Liam waited by the door with 2 cups of coffee. "Extra cream," he'd say, handing her one. She'd smile. You remembered. Life had become gentle again, slow, patient, full of small kindnesses that reminded her how healing truly worked. Still, sometimes she'd wake in the middle of the night and hear Daniel's voice in her dreams. Not angry anymore, just sorry. She would turn toward the window, watch the moon over the sea, and whisper, "It's okay now." Chapter 14. The Painting That Changed Everything. One afternoon, Liam asked, "Would you sit for a portrait?" Emma hesitated. "Me? Why?" He smiled. "Because every story deserves a face. And yours taught me what strength looks like." She blushed. "Taught me what strength looks like." She blushed but agreed. Over the next week, she'd sit by the window while he painted. They barely spoke. The only sounds were the brushstrokes and the faint hum of the ocean outside. When he finally turned the canvas toward her, she gasped. It wasn't just her face he'd painted. It was her journey, the sadness in her eyes melting into calm, her posture proud but soft, her heart visible in the light that touched her. "It's beautiful," she whispered. He shook his head. "No, you are." Something inside her stirred, a warmth she hadn't felt in years. "Liam," she began, but words failed. He stepped closer, carefully, as if afraid to break the moment. "You don't owe me anything, Emma. I just needed you to know. You deserve to be seen, not managed." Tears shimmered in her eyes. She reached out and took his hand. For the first time in years, it didn't hurt to feel something again. Chapter 15. Ghosts Return Unexpectedly. A week later, a visitor arrived at the gallery. It was Daniel's younger sister, Clara. "Emma," she said softly. Emma's chest tightened. "Clara. How did you find me?" "Daniel told me where you were before he left the city," Clara said. "He's not well. He asked me to give you this." She handed over a small envelope. Emma hesitated, then opened it. Inside was a simple note in Daniel's handwriting. "I hope you're safe. Don't worry about me. The doctors say it's only stress. I'm learning peace the way you taught me, by letting go. Thank you for walking away. It saved us both." Emma blinked away tears. "Is he really okay?" Clara nodded. "He's trying." Slowly. They sat for a while, sharing memories, not of pain, but of the few good times. When Clara left, Emma walked down to the shore and let the wind dry her tears. Liam found her there. "Bad news." She shook her head. "Closure. The final kind." Chapter 16. Storm over Westbridge. That evening, a storm rolled in from the sea. The wind howled, rain lashed the windows, and the power flickered out. Emma and Liam lit candles in the gallery. The glow of orange light danced across the paintings. "It's strange," Emma murmured, "how storms used to scare me. Now they feel like reminders. That calm always follows." Liam looked at her through the flickering light. "You've changed so much since the day you arrived." "So have you," she said softly. He smiled. "Maybe because we found each other in the wreckage." Outside, thunder cracked. Inside, something gentler happened. He leaned in, hesitant but honest, and kissed her, slow, respectful, full of understanding rather than possession. It wasn't the desperate kind of love she once knew. It was steady, warm, alive. When they finally pulled apart, Emma whispered, "I thought my heart was broken." Liam smiled. Maybe it was just waiting for the right hands to hold it. Chapter 17. The Letter to Herself. Weeks passed. The world felt brighter, lighter. Emma decided to write. Letter, this one to herself. "Dear Emma, you were brave when you left, and braver still when you chose to heal. You learned that forgiveness isn't about forgetting, it's about freeing your heart. You don't owe your past anything except gratitude for teaching you how strong you can be. Love again. Trust again. The world is waiting for your laughter. Emma. She folded the letter carefully and tucked it into her journal beside Daniel's old note. Two ends of the same story, peacefully side by side. Chapter 18. A Sky Full of Lanterns. On the anniversary of her arrival in Westbridge, the town held its annual lantern festival. The sky filled with floating lights, drifting over the sea like tiny stars. Emma and Liam stood on the pier, holding a lantern together. "What will you wish for?" he asked. She smiled. "Nothing. I already have peace." He nodded. "Then let's send it for those still searching." They released the lantern, watching it rise higher and higher until it vanished into the endless dark. Emma leaned her head on his shoulder, whispering, "For every woman who thought leaving meant failing, may she find her way home." And above them, the sky seemed to agree. Epilogue. Home at last. Months later, Emma opened her own small studio by the beach. The sign above the door read, "Seabreeze Art and Soul." She taught, painted, and smiled every day. Liam's laughter filled the place, and so did the sound of the ocean. The same ocean that had once carried her tears now sang her freedom. One afternoon, she sat by the window, sketching. A little girl from her class ran up to her. "Miss Emma, what are you drawing?" "A door," she said with a smile. "The kind that opens to a better life." The child tilted her head. "Did you find it?" Emma looked out at the sunlit sea. "Yes, sweetheart. I did." And as the waves touched the shore, gentle and endless, she finally understood. She hadn't just left her stupid husband away from home. She had left her pain behind forever. Chapter 19. A Year of Sunlight. A full year passed since Emma Carter had driven away from the city that once imprisoned her heart. Westbridge had become her sanctuary, a quiet rhythm of morning waves, coffee with Liam, and afternoons spent painting with children who reminded her that innocence still existed in the world. Her studio, Seabreeze Art and Soul, had grown into something beautiful. Tourists visited to buy her paintings. Locals came to talk about life and heartbreak and new beginnings. People said her art carried the peace of a woman who survived herself. One morning, as she hung a new painting of the sea, Liam came in with a box wrapped in brown paper. "What's that?" she asked, curious. He grinned. "Something for your anniversary." "My what?" "Your freedom anniversary," he said softly. "1 year since you walked away." Emma smiled, her eyes soft. "You remembered." "Of course," he said. It's the day the world got you back." She unwrapped the box carefully. Inside was a small golden necklace with a seashell pendant. Simple, elegant, pure. Liam took it gently and clasped it around her neck. "For the woman who found herself by the sea." Emma's voice trembled. "No one's ever given me something that meant so much." He smiled faintly. "No one ever saw you the way you deserve." For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The air between them was full of quiet affection, the kind that doesn't demand, it simply exists. Chapter 20. The past comes to say goodbye. That afternoon, a letter arrived. The envelope had Daniel's handwriting. Emma froze for a moment, her heart skipping painfully. Liam noticed the change in her expression. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded slowly. "It's from him." "Do you want me to leave you alone?" She hesitated. "No. Stay." Together, they sat by the window as she opened the letter. "Emma, I promised I wouldn't reach out again, but there's something you should know. I'm not writing to ask for forgiveness. I already forgave myself for the man I was, and I hope someday you can too. I've been living in a small cabin near the lake. I grow my own food, I read, and I talk to a therapist who helps me understand why I hurt the only person who ever loved me purely. I heard about your art studio through Clara. I'm proud of you. I mean that. If life allows, I hope to see one of your paintings one day, from a distance, quietly, the way I should have always admired you. Thank you for walking away. You saved us both. Daniel." Tears welled in Emma's eyes, but they weren't bitter this time. She felt no anger, no ache, just peace. Liam reached over, holding her hand gently. "You okay?" She nodded. "He's healing too. That's all I ever wanted, for both of us to stop hurting. They sat quietly, watching the waves crash outside, two souls who had finally made peace with their ghosts. Chapter 21. The Exhibition of Second Chances. 6 months later, Emma's studio hosted its first major exhibition. The theme, Second Chances. People from all over came to see her work, paintings that told stories of rebirth, freedom, and love that begins after pain. One particular piece caught everyone's attention. It was titled The Woman Who Walked Away. The painting showed a woman standing on a pier, suitcase beside her, looking toward the horizon. The colors were bright, golden sky, silver sea, and the expression on her face was one of quiet triumph. A journalist approached Emma. "This piece is remarkable. Is it based on a true story?" Emma smiled softly. "It's based on every woman who found her courage." As the night went on, Liam stood beside her, watching with quiet pride. "You've built something beautiful," he said. "So have you," she replied. "You built me back up when I didn't even know who I was." He smiled gently. "You." Chapter 22. The Storm That Tested Love. Weeks later, tragedy struck Westbridge. A sudden storm swept through the coast, the worst in years. The winds howled, the waves smashed against the docks, and the sea that had once healed Emma now roared like a monster. The gallery was right by the shoreline. Emma and Liam spent the entire night protecting the paintings, moving everything they could to safety. "Leave them." Liam shouted through the wind. "Your life is more important than the art." Emma shook her head. "These aren't just paintings. They're pieces of every person who trusted me to tell their story." A powerful gust shattered one of the windows, sending glass flying. Liam shielded her instantly, taking a cut to his shoulder. "Liam," she cried, grabbing his arm. "You're bleeding." "I'm fine," he grunted, helping her push a shelf away from the collapsing frame. "Just go outside, Emma." "No," she yelled. "I'm not leaving you." For a terrifying moment, it felt like the sea would swallow them both. But by dawn, the storm passed. The gallery was damaged, but still standing. Liam collapsed to the floor, exhausted, his shirt soaked with blood and rain. Emma knelt beside him, crying, holding his face in her trembling hands. "Don't you ever do that again," she whispered. He smiled weakly. "Wouldn't dream of it." Then she kissed him, fiercely, tearfully, full of gratitude. It wasn't about romance anymore. It was about life, about survival, about love that was earned, not demanded. Chapter 23. Healing Together. After the storm, the town came together to rebuild. Emma's gallery became a symbol of hope, the place that survived both heartbreak and nature's fury. When Liam recovered, they stood together on the repaired pier, watching the calm ocean. "You know," he said, "you once told me the ocean reminded you of chaos." Emma smiled softly. "Now it reminds me of resilience." He wrapped his arm around her shoulders. "And what do I remind you of?" She looked at him with tearful laughter. "Home." For the first time in her life, the word home didn't mean a building or